Good morning, everybody, and welcome to PSG of Mercer County, and Happy New Year. This is our first meeting of the year, and kind of a tradition that I've started, for right or wrong, is I like to do the first presentation to our group for the year, so that's what I get to do a little bit later. So Happy New Year. Hope you had a very enjoyable New Year and holiday season. And of course, as we say every Friday morning, Happy Aloha Friday. So if you're wondering if you have to wipe your screen clean or whatever, no, it's probably not you. It's me wearing my Aloha shirt today. And good news for me is I did find, for when it gets colder, an Aloha hoodie. So if we get a very cold morning one Friday, you may see me with my Aloha hoodie instead of my Aloha short sleeve shirt. So looking forward to that. And also, for those of you that celebrate holidays, today, if you did not know, is National Bobblehead Day. So if you like to collect those little bobblehead dolls, whether they're sports figures or other famous people, or just like watching them, it was the Night at the Museum movie that had the Einstein bobblehead dolls. So you can celebrate National Bobblehead Day. There's even a couple of websites you can have a bobblehead made of your own self. They take your picture and they put it on top of a body and your head bobbles. If you've got family that you want to give a gift to, that may be of interest as well. So have a happy National Bobblehead Day. So PSG, the Professional Service Group of Mercer County, is a group that is here for you, anybody that is in any kind of career transition. It doesn't matter if it was the case that your own company had some reorganization. I was impacted twice in my career that way. Or maybe you're going down your own career path and you're freeing up your job search time and made your own decision to look for a job or changing careers. We are here to help by providing all manner of information that we can to help you become more efficient and effective in your own job search. For one thing, we do have as a resource our LinkedIn group, and I encourage you to join our LinkedIn group. Our LinkedIn group is open to anybody who has been in attendance to at least one of our meetings. And so people that attempt to join our group that have never been in one of our meetings, we defer, we don't accept them right away. We encourage them to come to one of our meetings, but clearly all of you have been to at least one of our meetings because you were here today. So go look for our group. It is called PSG of Mercer County. Look for it in the LinkedIn group section. Press the join button, and then during the week we will look for those people that are requested to join and accept those into the group, and so that's when we'll accept you. And in our group is almost 1,700 members strong. It's about 1,695, I think. So a lot of people, there's a lot of activity in our group, and they are all members or visitors of PSG of Mercer County, and we're pretty active. We do share articles, job leads, all sorts of information, notifications about other groups that are coming up. So I encourage you to be active in our group in that way. Certainly being active in LinkedIn only helps your profile in LinkedIn as well. So be active in our LinkedIn group. And another thing, of course, is you then have access from using the LinkedIn connections so that you can connect or communicate with the people in our LinkedIn group as well. And so no matter how many contacts you have or first-degree connections in LinkedIn, you will have up to 1,690 more connections that you can in-mail by virtue of them being in the group. And there's a good chance that when you reach out to someone in a job seeker support group like ours, and you reach out through LinkedIn, there's a good chance that they will respond to you because these are a group of people that understand the value of that type of connection. So feel free to join our LinkedIn group. And we do, of course, have our website. Our website is psgofmercercounty.org, psgofmercercounty.org. If you have not visited it before, please know it is more than just a landing site or just lets you know that we're in existence. We have over 120 web pages of content, a tremendous amount of information to help you get started and manage your job search process. It's not the be-all and end-all of job search, but there's a tremendous amount of content that's there. We have a resources page, a little tab along the top that you can get to, and we have links to 44 other resources. Among them are 15 other job seeker networking groups, kind of similar to ours. We have 27 other career resources, which include coaches, and links to the state websites, and that includes New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, the resources that are there. We even have a link to a personal wellness site, if that's something that's important to you right now, and even a link to a mental health site. So if you're struggling with any frustration or depression or anything now because of your job search, this may be a good place to get started as well. So go take a look at our website. Hopefully it'll be a big help to you, psgofmercercounty.org. Just as we get started, I want to let you know a couple of ground rules or what you expect. And so I will be soon turning over the meeting to our presenter. That's me, so that's done. And what we'll do is I will share my slide deck online. You'll be watching my presentation. And also later today, my slide deck will be available on our PSG of Mercer County website. I'll show you where in the slide deck. Please keep your audio on mute while you are just participating and watching the program. As we engage with questions and answers, you can unmute at that time. And the ways you'll kind of alert us to questions are you will use chat. Now, chat is in the button in the upper right-hand corner. It kind of looks like a little circle with a tab. Here's one of my flashcards that I use. This is my virtual meeting flashcard. I've got a bunch of them here. When people's microphones and cameras and stuff don't work, I just show them the flashcards until they get fixed. And so it looks like that. And then write the word question. And when you type the word question, Alan Kirshner is going to be monitoring the chat. I'll do my best to, but I'll be a little distracted potentially. And he'll just alert me as well. And if you write the word question, at that point, he'll just say, excuse me, David, there's a question, and you can unmute and we can ask you a question. The alternative, you can write the word question followed by the text of your question, and Alan will just read it out loud. That would just be if you don't want to unmute yourself or if your microphone is not working. So either way will be perfectly fine for us today. And the reason why we ask that you put the word question is it will help Alan and I see your question among all the other comments that may be scrolling through chat. So again, it's a digital equivalent of raising your hand. This platform, GoToMeeting, does not have a raise the hand like LinkedIn does. So this is our way of doing that. And so that's how we're going to run the program today. Okay. So this is now the point where I introduce the presenter, but since I'm the presenter, that seems a little self-serving, so I won't read my introduction. I do a very brief introduction slide. So just give me a moment, allow me to share my screen. And there we go. We will get ourselves started. Okay, so it does seem that you are able to see my screen, so terrific. Just minimize that a little bit, and we will get ourselves going. So today we're going to talk about, is it time to consider a plan B? And probably a very good topic for the new year, the change in the new year, because a lot of times as part of our new year, we have New Year's resolutions and things that we want to attempt and work on are starting early in the year. And so maybe talking about a plan B, is it time to change something in your job search process? The new year may be a very good time for you to consider that. And there we go. And so as the curtain opens, I think that you and I have met each other before. For anyone who has not met me, so I am David Schuchman. And my day job is I am an information technology consultant. I started my own company, Princeton Technology Advisors, in 2014. Prior to that, I was in a couple different companies, but a corporate career. And then, so that's my day job. But what I really enjoy and my passion is really just helping people who are in a career transition. So I'm active in the job seeker support community. And I found PSG of Mercer County in mid-2012. And this is the group that I spend the most time. But as you can see, I'm active with other groups as well, including New Jersey Job Seekers, the Breakfast Club of New Jersey, and the Career Support Group in Hamilton. So that's a little bit about me. If we have not met before, nice to meet you. And now you know a little bit more about me. Or maybe we've known each other for a while and you just didn't know this much about me. So let's talk a little bit about some of the disruptive influences in the marketplace, because what happens is, as there are these disruptive influences, things that kind of put speed bumps in the road or help change the direction of the marketplace, we need to be aware of what they are. If not, we may not be aware of things that we need to do to accommodate how the marketplace is actually working now. Certainly, as the economy changes, whether it improves or gets worse, can disrupt the job search marketplace. Right now, the economy is fairly strong. Of course, COVID is creating its own interruptions in the marketplace, but companies are hiring now. Companies are doing financially well right now, and so that potentially makes the opportunity for job search a little bit easier, or certainly unemployment rate is very low. If there's a downturn in the market, you need to be aware and compete that way. Right now, we're in a more positive market. The pandemic certainly disrupts the marketplace. It disrupts the way we interview, disrupts the job search process, the way companies are going to hire, how agile, how quickly they can hire. There's a lot that interrupts them, and the way you're going to be finding and meeting people is going to change as well. We'll talk more about solutions a little while, but just be aware that these are disruptive things that disrupt the marketplace. You know, industry regulations change all the time, and they change the way potentially we work. Certainly there are industries that are highly regulated: financial services, medical devices, pharmaceutical. A lot of industries have a lot of regulations, and you need to know how those regulations and what those regulations are as they change, because it can change the way you're going to compete in the marketplace. It's going to change the way the marketplace is going to be working. And also, as they change, you may be asked about those. Are you knowledgeable? Can you work in this changed marketplace? And you better be able to say yes, or at least be able to talk to the new regulations. So be aware that industry regulations are disruptive as well. Changes in technology. There are certainly new tools that go out there all the time, new programs and processes. And it doesn't mean that you're a technical person. It could mean certainly you're in a non-technical role, but some of the programs that you used for your job have changed. For instance, if you've been in a job for 20 years and become very proficient with Lotus Notes, and you're hitting the marketplace right now, you probably will have a very hard time finding Lotus Notes positions or positions that require that. You'd have to know Excel or other tools. Technology is delivered differently. It's called cloud or virtual. So you do need to know how to work with that. So it's not always the case that apps are running on your computer. You're using them virtually. Artificial intelligence. You may be working with programs that will engage with you more directly. And also job search. There's a lot more artificial intelligence in job search with the applicant tracking systems and the like. So you may need to know how to work in those environments as well. And hiring practices are changing all the time. Certainly, companies are using less and less external recruiters. They're bringing that as a service in-house, and they can do that because there are a lot of job boards and applicant tracking systems and other tools that they have. And you need to know how to compete using those tools. It used to be you got in touch with a recruiter, and the recruiter would call the company on your behalf. But now you're contacting the applicant tracking system. Well, what if the applicant tracking system had 250 applicants? It's not likely that that applicant tracking system is going to call the hiring manager and talk to them on your behalf. You need to know how applicant tracking systems work well, how to compete there. So hiring practices have changed. And by the way, Lynn Williams is doing a presentation next Saturday at the Career Support Group on beating the applicant tracking system. We'll talk more about that at the end of the meeting, but you can look at careersupportgroup.org for that information. So what is a plan B? So with saying maybe consider one, let's talk a little bit about what a plan B might possibly, well, what it might be. It could simply be an alternate strategy. You're going down a certain approach right now, you have a certain strategy, you've been working it a few months, and it hasn't been very effective for you. So you have to change. So that's one of the things a plan B could be. It could be changing your perspective. So you could have a certain perspective about the marketplace, the industry, the companies that you're focusing on, whatever that is, whatever your perspective is. But if it's not yielding very positive results, it may be time to change your perspective. Maybe you have to change your goals. And those goals could be different things within your job search. Maybe you said, I'm going to contact 2 people a week. Is that enough? Is that working? Maybe not. Maybe you've got to contact 3 or 4 people a week. Maybe you have to change the way your job search, how many positions you're going to apply to online. Maybe among the goals, you'll either increase that or apply in person or do another strategy. And have a different set of assumptions. Remember, there's disruptions in the marketplace. You may not have been aware or paying attention to them before. And if you were not, you had certain assumptions about how the marketplace is positioned right now and how to compete. It may be time to work differently and smarter. It may be time to do something completely different. You were doing something in your career, you've been in a certain type of industry, doing a certain type of job. Maybe it's time to be in a different industry, in a different role or a different job. So it's time to do something different. And any one of these for you could be your plan B. And it doesn't mean you have to do all of these, but maybe one of these is what you really need to do to kind of reinvigorate your job search. So why consider a plan B? Why is it important to have that shift in your mindset? Well, if you're not finding any good positions, then maybe what you're doing right now, the assumptions that you have, the strategy that you're undertaking, isn't working well in today's marketplace. And if you're not finding any good positions out there, there's something different that you have to do. It's not up to the market to accommodate you. You need to compete in today's market. You might be finding a few positions, but the recruiters aren't even calling you. So the recruiters aren't seeing value in how you're promoting yourself and presenting yourself. So they're not making a connection. And there may be things that you need to do. Maybe it's changes in your LinkedIn profile. Maybe it's changes in your resume, changes in the way you're contacting recruiters. You don't know, but you'll have to consider something a little different, an alternate strategy. And even if you get that first call from the recruiter, you're not getting the interview. So they're talking with you, you're speaking with them. You may have thought it was positive or maybe not, but it's not, they're not seeing the value in what you're telling them. They're not seeing the value in how you're promoting your past experience, and you're just not getting interviews. So it may be time to consider a plan B. You get that first interview, but no next step. So maybe you are seeing and speaking to HR or even the hiring manager, but it's really not going beyond the early stages of the interview process. And so you're not making the progress that you need to be effective in your job search. So it may be time to consider a plan B. Maybe you don't even like what you used to do. You don't like your role. You don't like your profession. You don't like your industry. You might have been good at it, but you haven't enjoyed it. And you know, we go around once in life. Maybe you can do something a little different, go down a different path. And so if you don't like what you're doing, if you're not comfortable there, it may be time to change your job search, something in your job search, and that may be, for you, your plan B. And ultimately, you're feeling frustrated, you're feeling disappointed, maybe even a little depressed. And those feelings, they're considered, I guess, by a lot of people, negative feelings, but they can be very empowering. You can leverage those to help focus on understanding the challenges that you have in the marketplace. And these are all normal. When we lose our job, when we struggle a little bit, with anything in life, we can feel disappointed and frustrated or even feel a little depressed. So these are all normal feelings. We don't like to feel them all the time, but they're normal. And so if you're feeling them now, it may be time to do something a little bit different. Now, I've given you a couple of ideas of different types of plan B, and the idea is it's not a plan B, C, D, E, and F. It's just really making one change right now. So that's why we call this a plan B. Now, if you don't want to change, there may be a cost of staying the course. And so just be aware that if you're comfortable staying the course, if you like your career path, if you like the industry, the tools that you use, all those things, then just be aware there may be a cost to you. There may be a lost income opportunity. And the reason why is it may take a little longer to find that right job if it's older technology or older ways of doing something, and the strategies are going more slowly for you. So it'll take you longer to get income. And without working now, you won't have income. So there is a loss of income potential. So just be aware that may be one of the costs of staying the course. You may have less fulfilling personal time. If you're in a position where you need to manage your time, because the time you're putting in for job search, you have to manage your budget and your expenses more closely because there's no income. You may have less fulfilling personal time. You may not be able to go out as much. You may not be able to plan a vacation, or maybe your vacation is not going to be, you know, the fancier, bigger vacation that you may have been used to. It'll have to be a little bit different. So just be aware that your personal time may be a little less fulfilling for a while you're staying the course. And sometimes what happens is your morale starts going down, your motivation starts going down. You know, job search, especially a prolonged job search, it gets old. You know, we start feeling a little that frustration and you know, when will this end kind of feeling. And just be aware that it's possible you may feel that. You may feel that for a longer time than you'd want to. And you'll have to just power through it if you're going to stay the course. But you don't have to stay the course, but if that's your choice, be aware that that may be one of the costs. And ultimately, a prolonged job search can have an impact on your family. So if you are someone who is not living alone, well, if you're only living with pets, the pets will still be happy. But if you have family, a spouse or a partner or kids at home, you know, your mood, you're feeling frustrated, the impact of the budget may begin to impact them. They're going to wonder, why aren't we going out to dinner more often? Or why aren't we going on that big family vacation? And then they're going to complain to you. It's their normal feeling as well. And that may get on to you. And then their mood may have an impact on you. And it may be a little bit of a negative spiral, a downward spiral. You'll have to learn to be aware of that. You'll have to learn to manage it, find ways to keep yourself, both you and your family, up. But you have to let them be a part of the process. Maybe that will be helpful to them as well. But realize that this can be a little bit more prolonged by only sticking with the strategy and the approach that you've been using that may not be working very well for you right now. So staying the course. So just be aware these are out there. Not looking to depress you at all. That's what unfortunately this slide may have done, but really just kind of bring to light that this is a normal process that may happen. So I haven't heard any questions, so I have this kind of built-in intermission. If anyone has a question, this may be a good time to take a quick break. Or as you can see, there's a little picture of the restroom there. You can do that or get your breakfast. Any questions, folks? Comments, thoughts? I keep saying I have to play Jeopardy music, but I've never recorded that, so not going to happen.
David, one of the things that you're really always faced with, particularly in these Plan B situations, is the monthly nut to keep your house going or whatever else you got in play. And, you know, the classic one I think is, you know, I love to play the piano. Oops, I could get a gig and maybe make $30,000 a year when my monthly nut is 100.
Sure. So yeah, and that was one of the points I made in staying the course, that you do have to manage your budget. Now, I would think it's a bit of a challenge managing a $70,000 gap, or 70 between 30 and 100. But you know, clearly you'll have to manage your nut a little bit, and it may be, you know, not going out to dinner as often or at all for a while. You know, put off that family vacation. You may have to decide, do you have to take a part-time job, a second job? There may be things you have to do, especially if you're staying the course. But do realize that you may have to manage your budget. One of the things that I did early on when I lost my job the first time, now fortunately for me, my wife was working and had not lost her job, but we lost, I was making much more money than her. We stopped her 401 contributions, and we decided we will use that money more for our current income. And then once I went back to work, then she and I both were able to contribute to our retirement accounts. So that was one way, so we didn't have the tax deduction potential, but we had more income. Yeah, good point, John. Yep. Okay, well, if there are no other questions, then what we will do is we will move on past this intermission. And there's one more intermission and then plenty of time for Q&A a little bit later. So one thing to do to consider a plan B or to understand what your plan B might be for you is you want to start with a self-assessment. You want to take stock of all things about you and about your industry so you can see how and better understand how to compete. So one thing you may ask yourself is, has the way my job is performed, has it changed? And that's certainly possible. I know I tended to be someone before I was self-employed. I worked for companies for a long time. The prior company was 12 years. And so a lot of times companies themselves don't shift a whole lot, but you realize once you get into the marketplace, the way other companies in the market work is different. So you need to understand, has the way my job is performed changed? And if yes, you need to understand how that's changed. And you can find out if it's changed by looking at job descriptions and see what they're asking for. Ask people in the industry, former coworkers, and other people you make a network connection. So try and understand, is there a change in the marketplace though? Related to that, do I have the knowledge or skills or tools for the job now? And so again, you may have been with one company for a number of years. They didn't want certifications or care that you had certifications. So they were using old tools, or they had more manual processes and less automated processes, or whatever it is. But most companies that in the marketplace have changed some of those skills or require different knowledge set. Do you have those? If you don't, you need to come up with a way to compensate for that. Maybe it's taking some sort of online class or taking a certification or whatever it is that's necessary. In my case, I was a manager, a senior manager in an IT department. I managed multi-million-dollar projects. One thing I did not have was my PMP certification. And when I lost my job and was in the marketplace, I was competing with people who were PMP certified. So I had to understand and come up with a way to discuss while I was trying to get my PMP. So I had to understand how to compete best. Have the laws or the regulations changed? So regulations we talked about as a disruptive factor. Have they changed? Are they changing now? You need to stay up to date on those. Be aware what they are. Make sure you understand your strengths and your transferable skills. So you may have a lot of skills that are not very transferable. Those may be some very old hard skills or tools that you work with, but you may have stuff that are very current skills and soft skills as well. We'll talk more about hard and soft skills in a moment. So make sure you know what they are, because that goes into how you promote your value proposition to recruiters and managers. So make sure you identify and understand what they are. And you may have said, I've done this a while ago, do it again now, because you want to understand your skills in the context of today's market. Also, figure out, who do I know that knows me well? And by that, I mean who knows me well professionally. Clearly, your closest friends, your family, they're going to know you well, but they may not know you very well professionally. I know my father for the longest time never knew what I did. He knew I was in computers, but that was it. So clearly, I would not have relied on my father to help me find the job. But people professionally who I've worked with will know me. And these are good people to ask questions. Ask them to tell you about themselves, about yourself. Learn, from another person's perspective, and that will help with your assessment. What did you think of me in the job? How did you think I dealt working with other people? What was my management style? Whatever it is, ask those other people that know you so that you can, again, promote that as part of your value proposition. And then even consider, do I even want to do what I used to do? And if you're any Monty Python fans, that's the lumberjack. He didn't want to be a barber anyway. He wants to be a lumberjack. So maybe you've done your job for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, and you just don't want to do that anymore. You want to do something else. So you're going to have to find your strengths and your transferable skills and promote those against the new position that you're applying yourself towards. So that becomes very important. Do a self-assessment. You can do it yourself by just asking yourself lots of questions, or there are tools that are out there as well. And among the tools, Myers-Briggs, DISC, skill builders, or career builders. So go take a look, see if those may be of help to you. Some people find them very helpful. After your self-assessment, excuse me, after your self-assessment, embrace your reality. Now that you understand where you are and how you fit and how you compete in the marketplace, understand where you are right now. Bill Pagula talked about this in our meeting a few weeks ago, last month. The Kubler-Ross stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and ultimately you want to get to acceptance. And the reason why is when you're in these other four, the denial, the anger, the bargaining, and depression, you tend not to be able to be very effective in a job search. Imagine you're stuck in anger right now and you're F the old boss and F the old company, and you go walking into an interview that way. No one hires, as Marty Lattman says, no one hires depressed people. No one hires angry people. So you really need to get to a point of acceptance of where you are. It doesn't mean you have to like it, but accept where you are, because it's now from here, with what you've learned in your self-assessment, that you can more easily and competitively move forward. Know your own worth and your value proposition. Know how and what you're going to say to the people that you're promoting yourself to. Those transferable skills, the hard and soft skills that you may have, and your value in the industry. So these will become very important to you, that you know your own worth and value, and to compete in today's market. And if you ever need help figuring these things out, there's a bunch of different types of people that can help you. You may want to hire a career coach. So if you pretty much know what you want to do, but you need a little bit of help being competitive in the market, you hire a career coach. If you still don't know what you want to do, don't hire a career coach. Career coach will help you navigate and compete in your career. But if you're figuring out, a life coach may be a better choice. Ask others what they think you should do. People that know you, that have worked with you before. I could tell you a cute story, which was, I spent my whole career in information technology. After 30 years, I lost my job for the first time. One of the people I called was my mother. Now, it wasn't that I needed to cry to my mother, but my mother occasionally would call me in the office, and I had to let her know, don't call me in the office any longer. And she thought about it, and she said, I know the perfect job for you. This is my mother telling me. So I asked someone else. So I asked her what she thought that should be. She said, you should be an air traffic controller. And I said, I don't want to be an air traffic controller. I spent my career in information technology, and now she's selling me air traffic control. You like traveling. As a little boy, you loved going to the airports. You should be an air traffic controller. So this is what she thought I should do. And it was really the completely wrong job. One of the most stressful jobs on the planet to start in my mid-50s was not what I wanted to do. So you want to ask people that really know you a bit better professionally. Your family, your closest friends love and care about you the most, but they may not know you the best when it comes professionally. And also keep your family in the loop. Remember that job search, the negative sides of it impact your family, or the positive sides of working impact your family as well. So keep them in the loop. Let them know maybe that there's going to be a little bit less income, or that you're going to be home more often, or you're going to do things a little differently until you can land that next job. So that way, not that they're any happier, but they'll be understanding of why things are in the family right now. So if you're managing your budget a little bit more tightly, they'll be more aware of it and understanding. So keep them in the loop as well. And reflect on your hard skills as part of your self-assessment, those tools that are part of your job. So these are the technical knowledge, the training that you have gained throughout your professional experience, maybe even through your education as well. And they could be programs that you use, techniques that you use in your job, And so those are hard skills that you need to reflect on. Make sure you create an inventory of those and understand the ones that you have, and are they relevant in today's job market? For example, maybe you've worked in retail. You may know how to use a point of sale system, and that could be a hard skill, that you know how to use or program or manage or set up or configure a point of sale or any other computer system. Maybe you've worked as an accountant or in finance and planning. You may know how to use Excel, and not just fill in the little squares in the cells, but you know pivot tables and VLOOKUPs and all that. Those are hard skills. Those are very relevant. Those are things that you're going to be talking about as part of your value and value proposition. Maybe you've studied a foreign language, or you were raised in a multilingual household and you can speak a foreign language fluently. Another hard skill. Not listing every hard skill here, but these are just some examples of what hard skills can be, and you'll want to promote these. So be aware of that. Of course, if you speak Sanskrit fluently, there's not a whole lot of need for that, but clearly maybe Spanish or German or Chinese, or those will be languages that are probably very current right now to be helpful. But also focus on your soft skills. A lot of us only think about our hard skills, those tools that we learned on the job, but there are soft skills as well. You want to look behind your hard skills, because hard skills are the skills that can become outdated. Soft skills never become outdated. So these you want to focus on and make these a part of your inventory. And soft skills are going to be the type of skills that are learned on the job. They help you do your job better. So it's not just that you know Excel, but ways you've used Excel in ways that are beyond the regular way of using it, or how you've considered using it for other tasks. So being more agile with the tools that you have. Examples could also be teamwork. Teamwork is not typically something that's taught in school. It's not typically something taught on the job. When you come join the team, it's expected you will work on the team. But how you work with people, how you're effective, how you get the job done, and with working with others, how you communicate with others become important. Your presentation and your communication skills, how you get your point across, especially when it comes with other departments or leadership that you need to engage with. So these could also be soft skills. Cute little story about that little picture there. So that's that little magic trick illusion where you show someone you're pulling your thumb off your hand. My nephew's 23 now, but when he was about 5 or 6, I did that trick for him, and when I pulled my thumb off, he gave out a big yelp. So he was very surprised that I could pull my thumb off. So my presentation skills, I guess, are pretty good, at least to 5-year-olds. Time management. Are you very good at managing your time? There are a lot of people that get the job done, but their time management is very poor. They don't pay attention to a lot of the details or things that can crop up along the way in a project. They can't be prepared for things that pop up unexpectedly, or they save everything for the last minute. So, you know, they don't plan ahead. They do everything at the last minute. So talk about your time management. How effective are you there? Your ability to crunch numbers, do data analysis is very relevant, and especially now more and more, there's so much data. You've heard the term maybe big data. So many companies are relying on data, how they're positioned, how their products are doing, how their projects are flowing. So they want to see and understand all that, sales statistics, and all sorts of things. How well you are at finding that information, getting information out of data. Sarah was talking earlier about taking a Tableau class. That could be a good class to take to learn how to present data. And professional development, you know, how you've managed your career over time, how you manage the development and career of other people, especially when you're managers. These are things that are very relevant, cultivating staff. So become another example of a soft skill. So soft skills are often your transferable skills much more than your hard skills are. So that's why it's very important to focus on soft skills. A little bit more about transferable skills. These are skills that can easily be transferred, or certainly more easily be transferred from one job to another. So the way you do things, how you do things, the way you get things done, not just the tool that you use. And sometimes they're called portable skills. You may have heard that. There may be other names as well. And the transferable skills really are those that position you more strongly in the future. You're leveraging your prior work experience. And you can do that for a lot of reasons, certainly as you apply and seek any new job, as you interview for any new job. But it can also be as you're looking to change industries, because as you're looking to change industries, some of the hard skills that you have may not be applicable, or they may be outdated. But as you use your soft skills, they never go out of style. Maybe you're changing your role. You're looking to get a more senior role, and there wasn't an opportunity in your last job, but in the marketplace, there's a lot more opportunity. You'll highlight your soft skills in addition to your hard skills. Okay. And also, when your hard skills have become outdated, when you've worked for a company for a while that's used an older technology and they haven't kept up, they kept their costs down, but not updating, and you were just stuck in that paradigm, now you need to compete in a stronger paradigm, stronger skill paradigm. So you will talk more about your soft skills and transferable skills than the hard skills. For instance, how do you learn new tools? How do you learn to become involved in a new company? What's your process for learning projects, people, and all those things? So those are things that become important as you change jobs and roles and industries. So Plan B, where this program is about Plan B. So let's talk about maybe different types of Plan B. So you may need to change something in the way you're job searching. The way you're job searching hasn't yielded results. You spent a lot of time online looking for jobs. You found a lot of jobs. You're not getting past that point. Maybe stop spending time online. Reach out to people. You need to send them emails, or maybe call someone directly. Get involved with more networking groups, not just job search groups, maybe industry-oriented groups or other personal groups where you might find other companies. Maybe create a targeted company list. Just because you're finding positions online and kind of using a scattergun approach may not be as strong of an approach for you as creating a list of 5, 6, 8, 10 companies, and you'll only focus your target, your job search on those companies, and less so on the scattergun approach. Become more of an expert. So change something in how you're job seeking. Change some of the tools that you're using and how you're using them. Just because you have a LinkedIn profile doesn't mean it's effective right now. Or your resume. Maybe you have a very good resume. You may have even hired a resume writer, and you send that resume out to different jobs. It may be you need to make a custom resume, a targeted resume for each. Maybe you need to be more active in social media, or begin to be active in social media, where you could find other places to find opportunity. So change some of the tools. There may be others as well, but these are just some examples. Consider different employment types, especially if you've been out for a while. Yes, I understand you may be looking for that full-time job that includes benefits. And I know I've talked with people over the years who said, no, I won't take a part-time job. I need benefits. Well, you know, folks, I understand that if you need benefits, but if you've got the part-time job until you get the full-time job, at least the money coming in can pay for the benefits that you're paying out of your pocket. So consider maybe a part-time opportunity, or working as a consultant, maybe seasonal work. Each season has different work. Consider a second or a third shift. My brother-in-law is in medical device manufacturing. A number of years ago, he had lost his job. And the way he got back into working more quickly was a late shift. And even though he had family, kids at home, he had to manage that. So he would come home and see the kids off to school early in the morning, and that's what he had to manage for a while, but that got him back into the workforce. So consider different types of employment types. Even if it's not what you want long-term, do it for short-term. At the very least, you're working, so you don't have that stigma of unemployment, because there are some people that do see that as a negative when they're interviewing people. You also have some income coming in. To John's point earlier, if you've got that nut that you got to cover, the part-time or consulting gig may help you with that. Consider changing roles. Consider changing industries. Change job levels. It may be even taking a step back. Maybe you are a manager and you have to step back to a supervisor. So instead of managing a department, you might be managing a small team of people. Or maybe you're becoming the senior worker bee. the senior person doing the work, but you're not the manager anymore. And that will get you into the company. And also, not having the responsibility of management right off the bat means you can spend more time, at least in the near term, learning about the company, learning the new role, learning the new industry. May be very helpful for you. Consider starting a business. Consider buying a franchise. And a lot of you may be shaking your heads right now or saying, no way, no how. Fine. This is another type of a plan B. It may not be right for you. For me, I decided to start a business. I'll tell you my story a little later. But after my second unemployment and being out for a while, this is what worked for me. It wasn't what I was planning, but it's working. So you never know. So just be open to there are different types of plan B. Now, to pursue your plan B, you may need to take that alternate strategy we talked a little bit earlier. Ask those other job seekers in your role, in your industry, about you, about what they're seeing in the marketplace. Maybe seek from other employees in your industry or your role. And also, maybe you haven't done this before. Keep metrics. See what you, write down what you're doing and write down how effective it's been. If you've taken a certain approach and you've had a good outcome with it, you're getting good turnover, then maybe you stick with that. If you're finding things that aren't working well, don't stick with it. Example might be, if I call people, I find I'm getting more discussions. When I'm emailing people, I'm not. Call more people. That's more effective for you if that's what is being more effective. And then make changes to your strategy. Consider the other perspective. Other people will tell you things about you that you didn't expect. You might think, I get along with everybody. Everybody in the company likes me. But you talk to somebody and they'll say, you know, sometimes you can be a little hard-nosed. Other people don't like dealing with you when you're like that. You didn't know that before. You never know. It may be time to take training classes, webinars, because you've got to get your skills up to date. You may think you're very good at what you do, but if your hard skills are old, it may be time to take some training. Also consider volunteering. You can volunteer to keep yourself busy. You can volunteer also to do something that you haven't done before. And that could be something to increase your value going forward. You may need to hire a career coach, an independent mind or an independent set of eyes and ears to help you understand how to compete in the marketplace. And also consider having your resume reviewed. Having your resume reviewed by a third party could also let you know how to be more competitive in today's marketplace. You may need to change your assumptions. You may need to develop different assumptions. Investigating your role, investigating the inventory of positions in your role. If you have an older role, that inventory may be light. In a newer role, it may be a bit more. Maybe positions are geographically in another area. You need to understand that. It may be time to earn a certification or take training. You may think, like the story I gave you before about the PMP. I didn't have that before, but I needed to pursue that. And so that may be something. And by the way, I'm a fan of pursuing certifications. I'm a fan of pursuing training if it's appropriate for your role. I'm actually not a fan, for most people, of going back and getting an additional degree. And the reason why is it can take a long time. A bachelor's degree could take 4+ years. It could take more than 4 years if you're doing it part-time. A master's degree can take 1.5 or 2 years if it's full-time, longer if it's part-time. You may not have that kind of time. And also in those 2 to 4 years, things can continue to change. Certifications tend to be a lot quicker to achieve. Again, pursuing those opportunities other than the full-time employment, even if you're doing that short-term. So you may assume that you can get a job in your old role very easily. You may need to pursue a part-time position in a different role right now, something you didn't assume before. And also, you know, maybe it's time to get a physical, get some exercise, dye your hair. It's something that I've done. So I've been exercising. I go swimming 3 or 4 times a week, I do laps. And actually yesterday I did recolor my hair. It was just time to do that. I'm not ready to be old gray. So different, if it's not what you want to do, that's fine. But these are things that help you feel better or boost your outlook a little bit. And also for you, it may be time simply to do something completely different. It could be in your job search. Expand your search criteria. Consider those different positions. Maybe different commuting distance. In COVID, of course, there's a lot more at home. When you're working at home, you can work for a company that's further away. Maybe you're willing to relocate. If you had kids growing up, but now they're out of the house, maybe you can relocate. So not always the case, but maybe you can. So consider those as well. And match your current skills to your likes and your dislikes may give you a sense that it's time to do something differently, altogether professionally. So really do, as part of your assessment, understand what it is that you can be good at, what it is that you should be doing next. Okay, there is our second intermission. I created these intermissions in my programs because early on in the pandemic, when we were all trying to figure out just how to do a lot of virtual presentations, it wasn't as easy to understand how easy it was to ask questions. So I had these stopping points. So far, not a lot of questions, but if you have, this might be another good time. Or quickly refill your cup of coffee. I'm actually looking forward to my cup of coffee.
Hi, David, this is Gary.
Hey, Gary.
I wonder if you would let me share some time sharing some success stories in my own career Plan B.
Sure.
So I spent many years in the pharmaceutical and personal consumer care industry. And what I found by the time I was 58 or 60 years old is, in spite of my responsibilities and in spite of my accomplishments, where I absolutely had the greatest strength, what I was running up against was these industries were constantly restructuring and downsizing. And try as I may and try as I might to find opportunities in them, I was just not getting anywhere. So the surprise for me is the next 3 companies that I worked for, and this was certainly the age handicap, I was already 60, and the fact that I was not getting anywhere in those industries is I started opening my mind to opportunities in other kinds of industries. And I'll just briefly summarize that I worked for a small company where I used my planning and scheduling skills to help them build a new system in a company that recorded textbooks on DVDs for students who were either blind or learning disabled. This is after working for Johnson & Johnson and Bristol Myers Squibb. The next company was a glass manufacturer, and I had absolutely no experience in that. And the final company was a company that provided data center services to smaller firms where they would actually take the entire hardware IT installation of the company and bring it into their company and run it much more cost effectively and cost economically. And in that company, the focus was on using my purchasing background, again, from pharmaceuticals and personal care. But what it was through networking, people made me aware that these opportunities were available. And I just decided to try to take an open mind and give it a shot. And I was very surprised to find that these companies were interested in my transferable skills. And if I didn't take the time to just say, okay, let's give this a shot, I would have missed all 3 of those opportunities. So I encourage people, when you think about Plan B, very strongly to think about the transferable skills and using them in other industries, especially if they are companies smaller than the ones that you had previously worked for, that don't have the talent and the experience that you have. You may find that they are very open-minded about talking to you and interviewing you.
Yeah, Gary, that's exactly in line to what we're talking about, and thank you for sharing those. Sure, you may not be a very technical person, but the logistical and purchasing background that you have become very important to the technical company. Or you may not know about glass manufacturing, but you know about purchasing equipment that the manufacturing company could use, and you know the manufacturing and the logistics. So you take your skills that are important to the industry and show your value within that industry. And those are great examples of exactly what we're talking. So great, thank you so much.
Yeah, and I may add that in addition to the stress of being unemployed, when you go into a company like this and it's commodities or operation that you're not familiar with, you're going to be that much more challenged. You know, to David's point, you got to stick with it. And what you'll find is you can do quicker and better and more because of your transferable skills than what you may think. And I strongly advise this, and I am currently working with a couple of people to help them make this kind of transition, and I predict they are going to be successful.
Thank you. I see there's a question from Sarah. Can you speak about the value of PMP certification, especially if you've been out of the PM field for a while? So the value is, if you're going to be a project manager, PMP certification, project manager professional, is something that can make you more competitive for a new position as a project manager. PMI certifies, that's the main certifying agency. And so you may want to start the process, consider starting the process of getting your PMP certification, especially if what you're seeing is that a lot of people who are applying for positions are PMP certified and you're not, or if one of the bullet points in the job spec is PMP preferred. And generally when they say that, that's, unless it's the last bullet point, they probably want a PMP certified person, someone who knows the PMBOK and the whole process. So it can be very valuable for you. But as Marty Latman would say, it depends. If you are not a project manager, there's no value to it. Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, there's two more, David.
Sam wants to know where I go swimming. I go to Princeton Fitness and Wellness. They've got a junior Olympic pool, and what's nice, I see you go to the West Windsor pool in the summer. This is an indoor pool, so I can swim all year long. So that's where I go. I did look at a number of places and clubs. So there's Princeton Fitness and Wellness has a pool. West Windsor has on Clarksville Road. It's not part of the township, but there's a health club and organization right there. They have an indoor pool and gym. And the Robert Wood Johnson, New Jersey Athletic Club, they also have indoor pools. Okay, Jim, do you have any suggestions for getting into contract work or the gig economy, especially what platforms you may suggest? I don't understand the question of getting gig work, especially with the platforms I may. Oh, you mean for searching? Yeah. So,
Yeah,
you know,
I know there's different platforms like Upwork, for example. Is there any platforms that you suggest beside Upwork, and any suggestions as far as getting contract or gig work as opposed to full-time employment?
So a platform like Upwork and others, those are job posting sites mostly. Fiverr may be one, you know, so I really kind of saw them and they're not really the way I do my work. It's not really places I look. But those are really job search platforms. You know, someone has posted a position and will you find it? So that's fine. The other way to be effective is join meetup groups, join LinkedIn groups, join professional associations, and begin to be where people are, get to know people. Because what's going to happen in industry associations, and when I mean industry groups, not your industry in your job, but in where you want to work. So if you're a computer programmer, don't go to programming groups. Go to groups in the industry where your hiring managers are going to be. So maybe it's going to be pharmaceutical groups or logistics groups where those business people are. And meet people, because you never know who you're going to meet. You may meet hiring managers. You may meet somebody in the accounting department who knows there's another position open in the logistics department. So join meetup groups, professional associations, and others. I found for me, I was very much more effective in those than in trying to compete in a job search group for an opportunity. So make sure you include those. Okay, let's see. Greg has a question. Looks like 2 questions. Do you recommend keeping plan A while you pivot and execute your plan B? Not really. Plan A, if plan A wasn't working, shelve it for a while and focus on something else. You know, you have so many hours in a day, put it into something else that works. You may try 2 or 3 or 4 different things. You'll see the thing that works the best, or maybe if there's 2 of them that work well, put the time into what works. And in my opinion, don't spend a lot of time on the plan A. And Greg, you have a follow-up on the previous PMP question, doing the cost benefit of getting my PMP at 63 plus. What's the question? You're doing this, or you're asking me if I should do it? I'm not going to do that for you. So Greg, what is that second follow-up?
Yeah, so David,
yeah.
No, I guess I was just, as I heard you responding to the question, I debated, while I was probably in my 50s, whether it made sense to get the PMP, and now at 63 plus, just saying, yeah, I definitely do see that in a lot of the job applications. Sometimes it's at the top and sometimes at the bottom. Just kind of, responding that, at 63 plus, does it really make sense to get that PMP, because it could take probably a good year, maybe 2 years to get it.
So
just a thought, and not more so than a question.
The answer is I don't have enough information. So 63 plus, I'm going to assume that means you're between 63 and 64 years old. If you're going to retire at 65, yeah, it probably doesn't pay. You'll put the time and cost into getting it, and you may not yield any, financial or professional benefit out of it. If you're saying, as long as I'm healthy, I'll be working till I'm 85, yeah, then maybe it does pay, because you may need to compete against people. And if there's a bias and an age discrimination, maybe one thing that will keep you more competitive is the certification that you have. So you have to consider all factors in your career path. If you're close to retirement, it may not be of value. In general, in a statement I made earlier in the program, I'm more of a fan of achieving certifications than new degrees. And there's always a case of what's appropriate. If you're 63 and you decided you want to go to med school and want to become a doctor, then you have to go to med school. You can't just get a certification. But if you are a project manager, you don't need a bachelor's of business administration. You can probably just get that PMP and you'll be fine. So don't put the 4+ years in, put the year in. Okay. All right, so I think we're done with questions for now, and we will move on. There we go. So some next steps as we wrap up. Investigate the state of your target role, investigate the state of your industry, and understand what it's really like. Make sure you're clear on what the environment is like where you're going to be competing for a job. And make no mistake, job search is a competition. It's you against between 100 and 250 people that are applying for the same position. If you need, consider changing roles, changing your industry, similar to what Gary talked about in his example. Consider changing job level. These may be ways for you to be more competitive. If you need upgrade skills, get the certifications and see what's appropriate. If the job is asking for certain skills, if the job postings are asking for certifications and you'll be working for a while longer, it may make good economic and professional sense to do that. Volunteer to develop new skills. Volunteer to develop new connections. I have done several volunteer projects, especially early on in my consulting career. And it allowed me to develop a reputation in the I did volunteer work in the not-for-profit sector, and a good number of my clients are not-for-profit industry people, and I use my not-for-profit experience, some of it was volunteer work, as references, and became very helpful for me to make connections and to develop a skill set in an industry. Consider starting your own business, maybe work as a consultant for a while. And that's the path that I took. Doesn't mean it's right for you, but that may be the next step for you. Certainly update your resume, update your LinkedIn profile, especially as you take on these new certifications, take on these new projects. And for your resume, create a targeted resume. So your resume may be a 75% match for a job description, but with a little bit of tweaking and maybe an hour or so, it can be a 95% match. It could be very helpful to getting found and considered for a position. So I'll tell you my story. And you know, I was so appreciative Gary told me his. If I knew Gary was telling me his, I wouldn't have had this slide. But yeah, my story. And by the way, I've been in IT all my career. So that's me when I started my IT career on the right side there. So I asked myself, had my job function changed? I was in corporate for 30 years, 5 or 6 different companies. And when I lost my job the first time, I was with the same company for 12 years at that time. And had my job function changed? Really not so much. I was an IT manager. I was a department manager. I reported to the chief information officer. I had a staff and I ran projects. And I realized not much had changed. However, I did realize as I was investigating, less IT managers were needed. Companies were shifting away from IT managers and also shifting away from hiring people as much. Has the way my job function changed? Yes, IT was becoming more of a commodity. IT is information technology, by the way, was becoming more of a commodity. So companies were not hiring as many staff, but they were looking more and more for gig project staff. People who could work on projects, whether it was a few weeks, a few months, and then when the project was over, they let those staff go because they were on contract. And so I saw that was happening more and more. And I, of course, realized it as I saw this because when I was a manager, I often hired consultants. So I realized a lot of the marketplace was moving that way. Does my industry hire employees? Do they hire consultants? And as similar to the point you just made, they were hiring more consultants lately, especially project-based. So I needed to be more mindful of that and competing that way. Do I have the knowledge or skills for the job now? So has my job function changed, but do I have the knowledge and skills? I was lacking quite a bit in cloud computing skills, delivering a virtual platform. Companies I worked for always, or primarily I should say, had servers in-house, and I had to manage those servers and install the programs on them. Not as much virtual services. But did I still like being an IT manager? And yes, I did. I really liked and enjoyed being an IT manager. I preferred not to change careers. Some people do prefer changing careers. So what I did was I started my own consulting business. And the way I did the business was, as a manager, I aligned myself with strategic partners who can do work that I can't do. So if I was ever hired or contracted, I could subcontract to somebody. But I started my own consulting business. And the way I looked for gigs, as I was saying before to the question that came up, I was looking in meetup groups and LinkedIn groups. I was trying to hang out in business associations where, you know, my next gig can be found. I wasn't looking to hang out with other consultants because they were my competition. And so that's what I did. So I do have my business now, Princeton Technology Advisors, since late 2014. There's a separate presentation that I do on how to work as a consultant, how to become a consultant. Actually, I'm doing one on that later in the year for the Monmouth County Workforce Development Group. So you're welcome to join that group to learn more about that. So what might be your plan B? You may want to change something in the way you're job searching. Spend less time online, get more involved with connecting with people. Visit the professional associations, the meetup groups, and the others where you can find not other people that you're competing against, but the people that potentially can hire you. Look for roles in different industries. Could be the same role in a different industry. You may have spent a lot of time in one industry. Your role may be perfectly transferable. Consider different geographic locations. There are certain industries that have centered in certain areas. You may need to find those out and maybe you can relocate. You know, any one of these are not right for everybody, but some of them may be. Consider the different types of employment. Maybe it's time to be a consultant for a while or work part-time or temporary work. And you may say, I do want full-time. I need those benefits. I get it. But as long as you're working and earning income, if you have to pay for benefits, at least there's income coming in to pay for that. You're not emptying your bank account to pay for some of your expenses. Find projects to help companies transition out of old stuff. You may be thinking, why do I want to do that? I'm already leaving old technology. I'm already leaving old tech tools. Why do I want to work there? Well, for one is, you're good at it. You know that old stuff. They may need help getting data out of a system. They may need help migrating from one way of doing something into another, and they need the help exiting from the old thing. Along the way, you'll learn the new stuff. And so you will become at their, on that project, you will be trained, cross-trained, so it'll be very big help. And then in the end, they may decide they like you. They may want to hire you. And after all, look how good you were at learning the new stuff. You may want to consider starting your own business. Again, not for everybody, but it may be something that you want to do. But be patient. This will take a while, but all this has terrific potential. And that's what will really be beneficial for you. So as we wrap up, consider that you may need to change something in your job search process, something in the way you job search. Understand the effect of staying the course. There could be some negative implications, short or medium term, and you be aware of that. There may be impact on other people in your lives, and you have to be aware of that. Do perform a good self-assessment. Understand your skill set, the things you like, the things that are important to you in relation to the marketplace today. And if you need to start a plan B, ask key questions about your job search process. Find those realistic answers. You may find them from your own research. You may ask others. Your answers really will guide you in what you can do next and where you should go next. And that will help you get back into your job search with a renewed vigor, with more optimism, and hopefully more success as well. Okay, so that's where we are. If you want to download this slide deck, and by the way, if you want to download any of the materials that our presenters have provided to us, you look right here on the website. You see that red arrow, meeting presentation documents. So this slide deck is available. Now, right below that is the YouTube link. You can click there and find any of the recorded meetings. Most of our meetings in the almost 2 years have all been recorded. A few presenters have asked that we don't do that, but most have allowed that. Most have given us documentation, so you can download the slide deck. And you can find meeting presentation documents as old as from late 2013. We just have this, all of them that were given to us are out on our website. So that's where you can find it. psgofmercercounty.org, and look at meeting presentation documents, or look at our YouTube channel for the last almost 2 years. And this is how you contact us. Most of you know this already because you are here, but this is how you contact us. So our website, psgofmercercounty.org, our email address, and our LinkedIn group. And by the way, if you download this slide deck, these links are live, so you can get the PDF and click on the link as well. So this is where you can find us very easily. And again, our website is over 120 pages of content. There's a lot of information that is there as well. So before we wrap up, any other questions, thoughts, comments? Anything else on your mind? And if you want, you can quickly unmute. Now, by the way, we're going to be hanging around for a little while longer, so I'm going to wrap up the meeting in just a moment. But we're going to keep the session open, like hanging around the library's meeting room. And we're going to stop the recording at that point as well. But it may be a good opportunity just to hang out and chat with us, talk about what you want to talk about, or maybe follow up with any questions at that point. Well, if there are no other questions, I want to let you know what is coming up over the next couple of weeks. So we will be right back here on January 14th, that is next week. Paul Sakala will be here. Coach Paul Sakala, the new employment model, managing our career in the post-COVID economy. So that's what Paul is going to be talking about. I think it's very relevant, very timely, because we are still in the midst of COVID. And so he will be talking about managing our career in the post-COVID economy. And also the following week, Ed Samuel will be here. Coach Ed Samuel, he's been here before. Paul's been here before as well. Cold calling and your job search. He's going to give us tips into moving forward, into reaching out and connecting with people. And it was one of the things that I suggested you consider doing as a possible plan B. So he'll help us be a bit more effective with any of that as well. So that's what we have coming up over the next couple of weeks. By the way, tomorrow morning at the Breakfast Club of New Jersey, it's tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. George Pace will be giving his new presentation, Disruption Proof Your Career, Insights from 52 Weeks of COVID. So George does one presentation a year, and he builds on each prior one. If you've seen his prior ones, you're certainly lucky indeed. You can go to his website, of course, to look at the old ones, but he'll be presenting his new one, Disruption Proof Your Career. It's tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. thebreakfastclubnj.com, thebreakfastclubnj.com, and you can get the connection info. Also, next week, the Career Support Group will meet at 8:30 in the morning. Lynn Williams will be presenting Beating the Applicant Tracking System. Lynn has done an incredible amount of research. Certainly has a very research-minded person. And she will be talking about tips and techniques for beating the applicant tracking system. That's next Saturday at 8:30 in the morning, careersupportgroup.org, careersupportgroup.org. Also, Tuesday coming up, New Jersey job seekers will be meeting at 7:30 in the evening on Tuesday. And I did post the Zoom link on our LinkedIn group. So there is a long kind of Google Sites link. So I can't read it off here, it's just too long, but you can go get that off of our PSG of Mercer County LinkedIn group. And what's nice about that group, it's just open conversation. Talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. And of course, on Mondays, you can visit PSG of Central New Jersey, psgcnj.biz, psgcnj.biz, 10:30 in the morning on most Mondays, and 9:30 in the morning on most Wednesdays is PSG of Morris County, psgmc.org, psgmc.org. And so those are our cousin organizations, and we're supportive of all the groups that we just promoted here today. So that is us for today. If there's no other questions, I believe there wouldn't be right now. We'll simply say we'll look forward to seeing you all next week. And even though there's snow outside, I hope you have a very nice Aloha Friday and enjoyable weekend. And until we get to see each other soon, I'll simply say, bye, everybody.